So I want to think a little bit about knowledge and just in general, and think about a few different figures of epistemology since Gettier. Thinking about Gettier and thinking about a few epistemologists and thinkers since Gettier, and thinking about a couple different um, takes on knowledge. So first we have, knowledge is pretty much the highest level within epistemology that you can attain within your beliefs. To know something is to have it be indubitable, incorrigible. That those are words that we don't always know what they mean entirely, and epistemologists don't use them because of that. Sometimes don't use them because of that very issue. But we have first about belief. We have justification. We have justification in that how one can be justified in believing it, or for how it can be rational for one to believe in it. We have Gettier. Gettier published a paper in the 60s, I forget what year exactly, called Is Justified True Belief Knowledge? He brings up Jones and Smith examples, where one of them is that if say Jones says that he has two coins in his pocket, and pretty much you could make the statement that somebody that you work with, say you work with Jones and Smith, you could say that somebody you work with has 10 coins, two coins in his pocket. That would be true, because say Smith is the real person who has the coins in his pocket, and he kind of shows how you can get to knowledge by false evidence, and how you can but mainly how you can have justified true belief but not have knowledge. You would have justified true belief that Jones is the one who has the coins in his pocket, where you would be wrong though. You would be correct in saying that there's somebody that you work with that has two coins in his pocket, which is entailed from saying that Jones has two coins in his pocket, which is false evidence for it, where you basically are having justified true belief of the statement that someone that you work with has two coins in his pocket. You'd be justified, and you would have true belief, but you wouldn't have knowledge. So this is a problem that people try to solve. They try to put an extra constraint on things, and for one, we have Ayer. Ayer puts it in terms that where S believes that P is true, and S has the right to be sure that P, and how justification is having the right to be sure, and that ties in with rationality a little bit. I did a video on Ayer's paper, knowledge as having the right to be sure, a while back, I think a couple years ago. But that's one way of looking at it. Chisholm has his own take on it, and I forget what that one was. But kind of moving on to Goldman. Goldman was an externalist about knowledge, and he, in his paper, A Causal Theory of Knowing, said that there has to be a causal connection between oneself and one's belief. I think that was it. But there has to be a causal connection between the belief and what causes it. It's pretty much what I think it is. I'm kind of, thinking about papers I've read in the past, but I'm not entirely specific on them. So if you want specifics, I have videos on these papers, and I think there's other resources. There's also a lot of other resources on YouTube and on the whole web itself. So in this video, I'm kind of trying to summarize it. And these papers I've read in the past, but I don't have like detailed summaries of it. And pretty much, Goldman says that you have to have a causal component. That there has to be appropriate causal connection between the belief and between the belief and what causes it. And that worked for a while, but then he wrote a paper after that, which is called "What is Justified Belief," where he had a historical process reliabilist theory of knowledge, where he kind of gave his version of reliabilism. But these are all different people kind of putting extra constraints on it to see if they can like come down further and understand what it means to know something. And like I said, Goldman or Ayer did it by thinking about knowledge as having the right to be sure, for it being rational, for it being another way of looking at it. And this is, I think, from Lawrence BonJour, who has writings on coherentism. He has writings in the 80s for coherentism. He has writings after that against it. But BonJour has thought about knowledge as having internal having internal evidence. Of course, that's the way he looks at it. He has a paper called Externalist Theories of Empirical Knowledge, or Externalist Theories of Knowledge, and he argues against externalism and says that you have to have internal connections or evidence or reasons as to whether you believe are justified in believing and know something. And we've talked about Gettier, Goldman, Ayer, and now I think we should talk about Flair. Flair wrote a paper with Paxson, which is called "Undefeated, Complete, Justified Belief," where he uses his own version of the feasibility theory of knowledge. And putting the defeasibility theory of knowledge on things, I think, is almost akin to like a philosophy of science falsificationism, where a defeasibility theory of knowledge being tacked on to, say, a Gettier form theory of knowledge, I think makes things a little easier, makes things better, and makes knowledge more understandable as to how one can know something. I think, and what a defeasibility theory is that if there's nothing that can defeat a certain belief, if you have a belief, you are justified in it if it's rational for you to believe it, and that's all the same things that everybody else says, but it's justified for you, and you might possibly even know it until there is a belief that defeats it. And you can do one of three things about a belief. One of three things about its justificatory status. You can have it as being justified, as there's no defeaters, nothing which can defeat it. Number two, you are declining to give a status about its justification, whether it is or not. Or three, there is a defeater which does defeat that one belief, and thus the belief is not justified, and thus further you do not know it. And Flair has a lot of great writings in epistemology, and I think he's a really awesome thinker. I'd like to read more from him. So that's another way that we can tack on more things to the original to the original schema, which is that S knows that P is true, S believes that P is true, and S is justified in believing that P, and adding more things onto it, different things onto it, between different thinkers, can possibly get us closer to understanding what knowledge is. Personally, I am a skeptic about knowledge. I think that we can be justified in things, we can be epistemically responsible, and we can be epistemically rational. However, I don't think it's possible for us to know anything. I don't think it's possible for us to have a belief which is indubitable, incorrigible, and not defeasible. I think every belief is defeasible. Every belief is possible. Every belief is such that it's possible that we can defeat it. So that's why I'm kind of lean toward the coherentist way of thinking, but I'm not a coherentist either, and I plan on making some videos soon, kind of putting my take on each of these different theories of knowledge. Furthermore, we have somebody like Klein. Klein was a coherentist, as was Otto Neurath before him. Klein had what is called the web of belief, where in the middle was, I think, was mathematics and logic, which are pretty close, as it were, for a coherentist like himself. Mathematics and logic are as close to being indubitable as possible, and yet they are not. And in the very outside of the web is empirical data, or sense data, whatever you want to call it. And in the intermediaries is like science and stuff. I forget what it is. I should make more videos about that. But we have this web of belief where we have mathematics and logic, scientific theories and laws, and also observational data. All of them can possibly be defeated or falsified. No one belief, nothing that is empirical, nothing that is mathematics or logic is possibly incorrigible or indubitable. They all can be taken down. And that's just like a very brief looking at, very brief talk about Klein's web of belief. And I have a good amount of videos on Klein, and I should make a video that's just about his web of belief. But that's another thought about that. Epistemologists go from thinking that knowledge is possible, or that knowledge is in a coherentist way, or it's in a foundationalist way, and then we come to Peter Klein, which is a little bit more recent. He has a article which is called Infinitism, where he kind of gives two principles. One of them is that foundationalism is not possible. One of them is that coherentism is not possible. I have a video about that article, which if you want more about that, you can go to my epistemology playlist, where all the articles I've been talking about in this video will be there. And that's pretty much, he says that the regress problem isn't a problem, and how we can constantly go back, but it isn't necessary that we know all these infinity of beliefs at once. We only know a certain perimeter of them. Klein also has a article which is called Proposed Theory of Propositional Knowledge, which I can try to get to in my notes here, that way I can kind of give you a better look at this. And I'd like to do that here. That's where Where the heck is it? Klein had one extra thing that he put on it. I don't know where I put that, but I can't remember what he did that was extra to it. That was extra to that. I can't remember what it was. But he did put something extra on that. I'll make a video about it soon. I'm sorry, I cannot recall it right now. But I'll be making a video about that article very soon. So, just been thinking about this stuff. If you think I should have included something else, and well, there's probably a plethora of things that should be included on a talk about knowledge in general. But these were a few things I thought were kind of paramount and probably just like really stuck out to me at the moment that I was thinking about this, and I thought to make a video about it. So let me know what your thoughts on all these things are in the comments below.